This is Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson. I'm host Bill Palanuk. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I appreciate it. CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson recently held a kids' health and safety fair at the West River Ice Center in Dickinson. It was well attended. There were some great vendors and fun was had by all. A big thank you and a shout out to everybody who attended the Kids Health and Safety Fair last week in Dickinson. Also, a belated Happy Nurses Week to all the wonderful nurses at CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson. You are part of the backbone of the wonderful healthcare system that we have here on the Western Edge. Thank you for what you do. You know, I've been blessed by meeting so many wonderful people in the media business over the years, and that continues. As I just got together with somebody that I admired from afar for a long time. She runs a radio station. She owns the radio station in Bismarck, URL Radio. Stick around. You're about to meet Stacy Sturm with URL Radio here on Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson, and our program begins now. CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson presents Western Edge Living.
Western Edge Living.
I bet you have quite a collection of band T-shirts, promotional T-shirts, like every radio personality.
You know, it's mostly radio stuff,
Uh-huh.
but there's a couple T-shirts and books. I feel like in radio, we get a lot of T-shirts and books. If it's an author, they send you a book. If it's, or CDs. I got a lot of CDs. But, you know, I gave most of that stuff away.
Of course you did.
Because
So what'd you do?
so, yeah, I don't know. I think I sold a lot of it at a yard sale.
Welcome to Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson. And I'm a little starstruck, I have to admit. We've never really officially met.
We've
I
been in
think
the same buildings.
vicariously we
Yeah.
kinda-
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're with URL Radio
Yeah.
in Bismarck.
Yes.
Worldwide, I should say.
It is. Yeah, it's crazy. We have listeners in 84 countries.
What?
Yeah, I didn't even know 84 countries existed.
By the
No.
way, this is Stacy Sturm, by the way.
Yeah.
We should officially introduce you to the audience. But gosh, it's good to see you. And
It's good to see you, too.
I've admired you from afar for a long time. From Glendive, Montana?
Originally from Glendive, Montana. I grew up in tiny little Glendive, Montana, between that and like Terry, Montana,
Uh-huh.
and Miles City, Montana. Most of my family still lives in that area, but then we relocated when I was 13, 14, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved to the big old city of Bismarck, and yeah.
So where did you start your radio career?
So I started radio in Bismarck.
Okay.
So
But
I
you
started
went
in
to high
Bismarck.
school in
I did. I went to I went to high school at BHS,
Okay.
and then I graduated and I finished my communications degree at University Mary. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Communications and a Bachelor of English from University Mary as well. So
Okay. Now I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm
Yeah.
going to say that while you were in high school,
yeah.
you were busy. You were in a lot of extracurricular activities.
You know, yeah, well, yes. Mostly it was because it wasn't a lot, but it was a lot of time put in. I was in competitive dance team in high school. And so we trained 5 days a week, 3 to 4 hours a day. It was pretty much your life from August when you started training in July or August until state in February. So at the end of February. So it's a long season. It was a long season, a very broken body by the end of the season. But it took up almost all my free time.
Where or when or how did the radio bug bite you?
So when I was like 4, my parents have a cassette tape of me doing a radio show.
Really?
And because I always loved the radio. My parents would have it on when they were cleaning or doing whatever. My dad played in a band when I was growing up, and music was just always a huge part of our house.
So music was the
music
draw.
was
Okay.
really the draw. Listen to the radio mostly for the music. But I remember when I was 4, I did host my own little radio program on my tape recorder.
4 years old.
And I would introduce albums that I had a little record player too. My first record, I don't know who gives this to a 4-year-old, but it was Lucille by Kenny Rogers. So Lucille was the first album I had. But yeah, and I remember then my parents lined me up. Somebody they knew worked at KXGN radio in Glendive, Montana. And so they gave me a little tour, and I always loved radio. I listened to the radio all through high school, and I knew I wanted to go into media in some way, shape, or form. If it wasn't radio, then it would be TV, or it'd be magazine, or it'd be storytelling of some kind. It just like fascinated me.
Were there any radio personalities that you listened to that stood out that you wanted to emulate?
Casey Kasem.
Of course.
But when I was younger, we weren't exposed until I moved to Bismarck. We weren't exposed to much radio. We had KXGN and KFYR radio, and that was kind of it. And it's kind of crazy how I came full circle. I remember listening to KFYR radio and thinking that was just the coolest thing ever.
What time? What was this?
So
what
this
year?
would have been like 76, 77,
old Reb?
78. Old Reb.
Orly Knutson.
Yep. So it was way back then when I
Padres
listened.
Platters.
That I don't remember. I don't remember that one, but I do remember a lot of those. Jeff Alexander doing the
Sure.
news. I remember that, and then one of my first radio jobs was at Y93 KFYR. They gave a 19-year-old child keys to the overnight. So yeah, so I was hired on by Bob Beck predominantly for Y93 when I started my career, and they they also wanted me to do overnights on KFYR. So I met with Dan Brannon. He was like, yeah, she's okay. Gave me a key. Like, the vetting process was not crazy at the time. They gave me a key, and then basically, like, here's a historic building, one of the most historic radio stations in the upper Midwest, kid. Here you go.
Was that at the time that K-Fire had the fireplace in the studio?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it was
cool.
crazy. It was carts. We still were working with carts and
So
stuff.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
turntables and carts?
Turntables, carts,
I remember-
mainly carts by the time that and CDs. They had the carts and CDs by the time I was working
For
KFYR.
the viewer, a cartridge was what we played commercials on. Some songs were played on it.
Yeah.
It looked a lot like an 8-track.
It looked a lot like an
tape.
8-track, yeah.
And I think K-Fire had 9 cart decks.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. That was pretty fancy. That was the biggest studio, and it was pretty exciting.
Did you feel the power when you turned that microphone on? And just the power of KFYR and how it's reached that.
Not initially. Initially, I felt fear. Like, I don't know how to work any of the equipment. I kind of did because I was going to school for communications, and I had a radio class at University of Mary. But I didn't this was a professional radio studio is much different than like a little closet studio on your campus. And so I was absolutely terrified because I felt like I had the weight of the entire Midwest on me. And back then, people were brutal. So if I missed whatever it is break, or I missed whatever weather or egg report, you immediately got calls. Phones would light up. And they'd be like, you didn't do the egg report. It's 5:45. Where's the egg report? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I'm supposed to do the egg report. And then I looked at it, like, make sure you do the egg report at 5:45.
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah, so it was, we got a lot of crap. Like, yeah, it was, but it was crazy. And I remember one of the first calls I got was a farmer living in Glendive, Montana, who had a question about something with our weather forecast or something. And I'm like, that's crazy, because I remember listening in Glendive, Montana to KFYR thinking, like, that's just the coolest thing in the whole wide world.
Do you recall the first song you ever played on the air?
I don't.
See, I remember my mom was Peebo Bryson, if ever I'm in your arms.
That's a good one.
Oh, my
No,
goodness.
I think I was just so scared. I just don't remember much. I remember the very first song for my radio station, for
URL
URL
radio.
Radio,
Okay.
because that was new, and I remember we let the listeners on Facebook before we launched. They kind of followed our story.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
URL came out at the same time Facebook did? Like 2008?
Yeah,
Really?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that
Wow.
crazy? We were one of the first people to have like a business Facebook page where we really actively used it, and people followed the journey. And so we gave them 4 songs to pick from for our first song when we cracked the mic at 6 a.m.
Wow.
on April 1st of
And you played
2009.
Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones.
Nope,
No?
it was Do You Want to Get Rocked by Def Leppard. So yeah, Let's
Okay.
Get Rocked. Let's Get Rocked by Def Leppard. So
Oh,
that was
gosh,
the first
and
song.
it's been a ride to the stars ever since, hasn't it?
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start URL Radio? Because Bismarck is competitive. You got formerly Clear Channel. It's
Yep,
now
that's iHeart.
Town Square. And
Yep.
then you got Mojo and them others.
Yeah.
And then here you are.
Yeah.
Downtown Bismarck with URL Radio.
I know.
Why did you do that?
So I had left Clear Channel, and I said I was going to get out of radio. It's
gets
not stable.
frustrating, yeah.
It gets frustrating.
Yeah, it does.
And it's volatile, and it's like there's so much change. And I saw there was going to be a lot of changes with corporate. So I'm like, I thought, let's just change direction. So I did public relations for a while. But a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, you know what? What if you could start up your own radio station? Have you heard of, like, I know somebody that has all the equipment. They'll give us all the equipment. What would you be interested? What do you know about satellite or internet radio or like low power frequency radio? I'm like, I know about low powered frequency radio, but internet radio, I really didn't. This was at the time when Spotify wasn't even really a thing. Spotify came out, I think.
You're in the days of Winamp,
Yeah,
aren't you?
Spotify came out a month before we did.
Wow.
Yeah, or 3 months before URL Radio did. So the only thing that was really out at the time was Pandora. And so I kind of knew how Pandora worked a little bit, but there was no guidelines. There was nothing. It was I kind of imagine it was like when somebody decided to do the first TV station. Like you kind of have an idea, but you don't know if it's going to work for sure, the logistics of it. But I knew that radio itself was changing, was getting rid of a lot of local talent. The model of it was going to die. So I thought this would be a good chance to blend the old and the new, blend my old radio ways and the new medium of internet radio, which was just kind of starting to take off.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then make it a thing.
You know, to become successful with an internet radio station, it takes an extremely amount of work, doesn't it?
It does.
A lot
It
of
does.
work. Yeah.
It really does.
Okay.
I spent, I think, the first 3 years like just educating people how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just trying to get them to figure out, to
We're gonna-
show them how it works.
We're going to continue this conversation
Okay.
about all the hard work and some other things too, as we're visiting with Stacy Sturm with URL Radio here on Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson. Be sure to check out our website, westernedgelivingtv.com, and all our shows are archived on our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, and there's a lot of great stuff on there, too. It's Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson, and we're visiting with Stacy Sturm today of URL Radio in
Yes.
Bismarck. One other personality that I was going to ask you about, Dee Daniels.
Dee does a show
What
on
did
my
you line up?
station.
I know she
I
does.
love Dee. So now we were always supposed to kind of hate each other because that's the way it is when you're in
Yep.
like competitive radio. She was on the Fox, I was on Y93. You need, you know, as a ratings battle for all. So we were never supposed to be friends. But like I'm hanging out with Dee on Saturday. She does we're gonna go drink mimosas. She does a show on my radio station. She's
Drinks
another
with
veteran.
Dee, I think
It
it's
is
called.
Drinks
Yeah.
with Dee, and I just love her. She gets it. You know what I mean? I love still working with, even though I have a new medium, I love working with other radio personalities who just get it. They're professional. The sound quality is always good. They're always funny. They're always entertaining.
Well, I admire her like I admire
Yeah.
you. I've never met her, but I worked at KBYZ when they first went on the air for a couple
Yeah.
of years. So, I'd hope to shake her hand one day. She's
Well, if you ever get up to Bismarck, let's all do lunch.
yeah, count on it.
We'll do lunch,
Count
Bill.
on it. Back to URL
Yeah.
Radio and the
Yeah.
amount of work that it's that you have to do to you're competing with some big dogs. There's some big guns firing in Bismarck.
Yeah.
And so, what do you do to keep your head above water?
It was tough. So I've always said, find your niche, and instead of focusing on what other people are doing, do what you know you can do to the best of your ability. So I never really thought of the other radio stations as competition, because what we do is so different. It's I was very internet focused, and at the time they weren't even streaming yet. And my sales model, so I didn't hate them either for taking sales, because my sales model was very different. I was working with social media and content creation with clients, and boosting their SEO for their websites, working on internet advertising, and they weren't even touching that yet. So I think that was always kind of a blessing of mine, is the fact that for radio, we are a lot of the same. We operate a lot of the same, but as far as the model of it, it was very different. So, and I was doing things that they weren't able to do. And I think my first roster of shows and people was more than they had people working in their entire building, because corporate radio had pretty much wiped everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
So we had we probably had 12 people doing shows.
Wow.
It was all local, it was all live, it was, it's a totally different model. It was kind of a model between corporate radio and then also kind of what you find with cable access kind of radio, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then also kind of putting those two together in a professional way and marketing in a totally different way. So I wasn't trying to steal listeners away from conventional radio. I wanted to get listeners that were interested in a new medium of radio. So it wasn't necessarily trying to steal away their listeners. It's more of just finding people where they are, where they weren't getting their needs currently met. Because to listen to URL radio in the beginning and even now, you have to purposely make that choice. Mm-hmm. You're already probably on the internet, although now with apps and stuff, you can listen to us on your phone in your car. Cars have come a long way, so now you can listen to internet radio in your car, just like you would podcasts and stuff. But it was a matter of finding the people that are on the radio or on the internet all the time, and then feeding them my radio. It wasn't trying to take people away from their cars or their works or whatever. It was finding people who were currently on the internet and giving them another option that they didn't really have before. So that's the way I looked at it. And I tried not, and I still have so many friends in the business. I still wanted to work nice with them. I wanted to be nice with them.
Looking at URL's Facebook page, I see that food and beverage are a big part of what you got going on there, girl.
We love food.
Of course you do.
We love
it's very
food.
obvious.
We love food and drinks and everything. I think that's a big thing now too.
It's a common denominator.
It's a common
Everybody-
denominator
yes.
with people. Everybody wants to know about bars and restaurants and foods and recipes.
There's some good ones in Bismarck, right? You're on Broadway, right?
The radio station's on Broadway.
Yeah, right there. I know Jay Dillon waves to you
Yeah,
every
he
now
works.
and then.
Yeah, he works right across from me.
And there's some great restaurants right there.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great places to eat and to drink, but yeah, we do like to talk about food and to visit places, because I think that's interesting to people.
Oh, it is.
So we try to, and when you look at a lot of social media content right now, everybody's got to eat. Everybody, is drinking a cocktail or a mocktail or something. So it's just trying to, find a commonality with people.
Stacy, I've put together some questions that,
Okay.
like we were two radio personalities
Yeah.
that we met at the airport or something, and this is the notes that we would compare. The one promotion that you've done that you're most proud of, was it raising money for a cause, or what comes to mind?
I fly through promotions so quick. There's been so many. So I think during one of the things that we really put a lot of effort into is in 2011, we had a huge flood in Bismarck.
Yeah.
And a lot of people lost homes. A lot of people were displaced. And so we did a promotion for that where we sold T-shirts, and then all the money went to like flood organizations that helped flood victims. So that one was really good. That one, we got a lot of interest. We had, we sold, I want to say it was like 6,000 T-shirts.
Wow.
It was something absolutely crazy. I thought we'd sell like 300 or 400, and we ended up doing like 3 orders of T-shirts. It was crazy. It was called United We Stand.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I do. What celebrity death had the most impact on you? As a radio personality, we always report on,
Yeah.
For me, it was Eddie Van Halen. When he died, that seemed to have a big impact. Was there anybody that passed away that really affected you?
Oh, I would have to say probably Prince. I think it was probably Prince. I remember most of when he passed. In fact, I remember exactly where I was. I guess with Michael Jackson too. But with Prince, I remember what I was doing, where I was at when I heard it. And he passed, and then we actually had Michael Uzlin in, who has the rights to like the Batman stuff. He has the rights to Batman. He was coming into the radio station to talk about like Wonder Woman, Batman, all that good stuff. That he was speaking at a seminar or something in Bismarck, and we were reminiscing with him because he used Prince for most of the Batman soundtrack.
Yep.
when the Batman movie came out, and so we were reminiscing about that, and it was just a shock.
September 11th, 2001, where were you? Were you on the air?
I was on the air. I was doing the morning show, Brady and Stacy in the morning, and I remember seeing the first hour. So I had just did the news, and
Now this was on Y93?
this was on Y93.
Okay.
So I just did the news, like regular news. This is what the news of the day, blah, blah, blah. I did the weather. And then I came out and I saw that one of the towers had been hit. So I was watching, and of course, like everybody, I thought that's a fluke. It's got to be a fluke. What a crazy accident. And then we saw the second tower get hit, and then all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and then we reported everything we knew, and I didn't know what to do. We'd never handled anything of that kind of magnitude as far as a world event goes. And then we were getting cancellations, like the Y was calling, and the daycare's closing at noon, and we were getting inundated with calls. The mall was going to be closing, the post office was going to be closing, everything was going to be locked down. Everything was happening so fast, and I was trying to get information out. And then finally, Clear Channel at the time was like, just cut. We're just going to go to national. Yeah. Everybody's going to go to national, so we have the same feed. Figure out your local stuff. Get your stuff together.
Wrapping up here today, what do you hope for the future of your baby, URL Radio? What do you hope to see as a destiny for this wonderful product that you have created?
I really want to see a new generation take it over and breathe life into it. I'm getting old, Bill.
You're preaching to the choir.
I'm getting old, and I'm just hoping that in a couple years somebody will buy it and take it and love it and bring it into a new era even of like online mediums. That's my hope, is that somebody else takes it and loves it, that it doesn't just die when I want to be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the confines of broadcast television, we just have so much time. But,
I know.
In each program, this has been great. I really enjoyed this. The last half hour has just flown by. And I'm serious. I have admired you. I remember, I think about the only time we talked when I inquired about maybe purchasing URL.
Yeah, you
you
did.
remember that?
You
Yeah,
talked about it. We had talked about that.
Stacy Sturm, URL Radio. Thank you so
Thanks,
much
Bill,
for making
for
the
having
drive
us.
to Dickinson. And
Yeah,
joining
thanks
us.
for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. This is Western Edge Living, presented by CHI St. Alexius Health Dickinson.
Western Edge Living.